Umudara village used to wake up with the same sounds every morning: roosters crowing, women sweeping dusty compounds, and children running barefoot to fetch water. In a small mud house at the edge of the village lived Bamidele, his wife Sola, and their 2 children. Tund, a quiet 15-year-old boy already known as the brightest student in his class, and Kemi, his 12-year-old sister who loved books but loved her father even more. Their life was simple, but it was not easy. Food was never enough. School fees always came with tears. And Sola's eyes had started carrying a constant anger, an anger that poverty was slowly feeding every day. Bamidele was not lazy. He worked until his palms became rough like dry bark. Some days he farmed for others. Some days he carried heavy loads in the town market. On lucky evenings, he repaired broken stools and doors for neighbors just to earn small money. Yet no matter how hard he worked, the money never lasted. Whenever he entered the house with a tired smile, Sola would look at him like a judge. She would count the money with silent disappointment and then stare at the children's plates like it was his fault they were empty. The village women whispered too. Some said Sola married the wrong man. Others said she was too proud for her own good. One night, the rain fell heavily and their roof leaked like it was crying. Tund and Kemi pushed a bowl under the dripping water, trying to help, while Sola sat on the bed with her wrapper pulled tight around her chest. She looked at Bamidele and finally asked the question that broke the silence in their home. "How long will we live like this?" Her voice was sharp. "Do you want these children to grow and hate you for their suffering?" Bamidele swallowed hard. He wanted to say he was trying. He wanted to say he was tired too. But he only said, "I will find a way." The next week, news entered Umudara like wildfire. A wealthy man from Lagos, one of those businessmen people called Big Man, was looking for a village woman to marry. People said he wanted a humble wife, someone simple, someone that would respect him. Sola listened to the rumors like a thirsty person hearing water. Then one afternoon, a distant cousin came to visit and spoke about Lagos with shiny words. Lagos Island, fine buildings, perfume, clean roads, big cars and soft life. Sola's eyes lit up in a way Bamidele had not seen in years. That night, Sola made up her mind quietly. She packed her small bag without shouting. She didn't wake the children. She didn't tell them goodbye. When Bamidele asked her where she was going, she only said, "I can't die inside this poverty. I'm going to Lagos. Don't follow me." Bamidele stood like a tree struck by lightning. "Sola, what about the children?" he whispered. "They will survive. You are their father." And with that, she walked into the dark. By morning, the village already knew. People mocked Bamidele openly. Some laughed at him at the well. Some shook their heads in pity. Some even called him the man whose wife escaped. Bamidele felt shame, but he felt something stronger: responsibility. He looked at his sleeping children and made a vow inside his heavy chest. "I will not abandon you. Even if the whole village laughs, I will raise you." And that was how Bamidele's real struggle began. Kemi woke up and asked for her mother. Tund pretended to be strong, but his eyes were red. Bamidele did not lie. He simply said their mother went to Lagos to find a better life. The silence that followed was louder than crying. That morning, Bamidele cooked watery pap with the last grain in the house. He gave the children more and took less. When Kemi offered him her portion, he smiled and told her to eat because her brain needed strength. But inside him pain was burning. From that day, Bamidele became 2 people. He became a father who worked and a mother who comforted. He washed uniforms at night. He tied Kemi's hair clumsily. He forced Tund to read even when hunger distracted him. He begged teachers for time when fees delayed. He borrowed money and paid with labor. Every mockery he heard became fuel. He told himself that success would be his answer. Umudara's market was never quiet, but Bamidele's life became louder than the market itself. He farmed in the morning, carried loads in the afternoon, and repaired furniture at night. Men laughed and asked when he would marry again. He never answered. He only walked on. His children were watching, and he refused to teach them bitterness. Tund grew faster than his age. At 15 he could cook, fetch water, and guide his sister with homework. Kemi cried quietly at night sometimes. She missed her mother's touch. Bamidele would sit beside her mat and whisper that tears were allowed, but her future must not stop. In school, they became known as the children their mother left. Some classmates teased them, but it only made them stronger. Tund became more serious with his books. One teacher told Bamidele that his son was rare and could win scholarships if he stayed focused. That word, scholarship, sounded like a door opening in a locked room. Life was still hard. One day, Tund needed a science textbook. Bamidele had no money. That night, he sold the only good wrapper Sola left behind and bought the book. When Tund found out, he cried. Bamidele only told him he was suffering so his son would never have to. Kemi watched everything and made a promise inside her heart. She told her father she wanted to be educated too. Bamidele smiled, even though fear shook inside him. 2 children alone felt impossible. But he decided he would not help them survive. He would help them rise. In Lagos, Sola's pictures began to return to the village. Clean clothes, fine cars, big buildings. People gossiped that she had made it. They compared her comfort to Bamidele's suffering. But Bamidele focused only on the truth in front of him. His children's future. When Tund finished his secondary school exams, Bamidele waited outside the school gate like a man waiting for judgment. Tund said he did his best. Weeks later the results came. Tund passed with excellent grades, one of the best in the entire area. The village went silent. That night, Bamidele knelt and cried in gratitude. He told Kemi her brother would go to university. Kemi smiled with joy, then fear. She asked about herself. Bamidele looked at her and said quietly, "You too. I will not raise one child and abandon the other. Both of you will go." The town city university was not far from Umadara, but to Bamidele it felt like another world. When Tund received admission into the university with a scholarship for brilliant students, the village held a small celebration. People who once mocked Bamidele now greeted him with respect. Some even pretended they had always believed in him. Bamidele did not argue. He had no energy to fight old battles. His heart was focused on new responsibilities. The scholarship paid part of Tund's fees, but it did not cover transport, feeding, books, and the hidden expenses that always come with university life. Then Kemi's admission letter came too. Same university, different course, no scholarship. Joy entered the house with fear holding its hand. Kemi danced around the compound, holding her admission letter like gold. But when she looked into her father's eyes, she saw worry hiding behind his smile. That night, Bamidele sat alone outside, staring at the moon. He was proud, but he was scared. He knew training 2 children in university alone could break him. Kemi understood. She walked outside, sat beside him and spoke softly. She told him that if it was too hard, she could stay back and learn a trade. Bamidele turned to her firmly and told her never to say such a thing again. He said she was not staying back because life was hard. He said she would go, she would finish, and she would become what she wanted to become. Kemi's eyes filled with tears. She asked about money. Bamidele held her hand and told her that money would come, strength would come, but her future must not wait. From that day, Bamidele became even more relentless. He traveled to town more often and accepted any labor work he could find. He became a messenger for a shop owner. He carried cement for builders. He worked as a night watchman, sleeping only in short naps. He borrowed money from a cooperative and paid back little by little. He sold his old radio. He sold his bicycle. He even sold part of his farmland. Every sale hurt him, but he treated it like sowing seeds. Pain now, harvest later. At the university, Tund and Kemi faced a new struggle. They were village children among city children. Some classmates wore expensive shoes and spoke big English. Tund stayed focused. Kemi sometimes felt ashamed when her clothes looked too simple. But Tund reminded her that they were there because of sacrifice, and sacrifice was stronger than fine clothes. Kemi would nod and return to her books. Bamidele visited them occasionally with food items: gari, beans, dried fish, and small money wrapped in nylon. Kemi always hugged him tightly. Tun tried to act strong, but each time he saw his father's tired eyes, his throat tightened. One day, Tun followed his father to the bus stop and promised that when he graduated, his father would rest. Bamidele smiled and told him he would rest when he saw his son standing tall. During those years, Sola never visited. She never called. Her silence became a second abandonment. Kemi stopped asking questions. Tun stopped hoping. Their mother slowly became a story they no longer wanted to remember. They focused on the parent who stayed. By final year, Tun's scholarship expanded because of his excellence. A lecturer helped him secure an internship with an international program. Kemi also began to shine, winning small academic awards and support. The village started hearing their names with pride. People now pointed at Bamidele and called him the man who raised champions. When graduation came, Bamidele wore his best simple outfit and sat among other parents. Many had wives beside them. Bamidele sat alone, but when he watched his children collect their certificates, he felt like a king. Not because he was rich, but because he had conquered a mountain without support. That day he told himself that Sola left a poor man, but she left a father who never failed. Success did not enter their lives suddenly. It came like sunrise, slow, steady, and undeniable. After graduation, Tund received an opportunity abroad through the international program. Kemi later secured a postgraduate scholarship through a university partnership. Within a few years, both brother and sister were abroad, studying, working, and growing. The same children who once ate watery pap in Umudara were now eating meals they once only imagined. Through all of it, they never forgot their father. They called him often. They sent money. They begged him to reduce his suffering. But Bamidele's pride was built on dignity, not stubbornness. Still, age began to speak in his bones. His back ached. His eyes weakened. His hands remained rough even when he no longer carried loads. One day, the children made a decision without telling him. They saved money together and bought him a home on Lagos Island, a clean, modern apartment in a peaceful area. Then they invited him to come and live there. When Bamidele heard it, he froze. Lagos Island felt like another world to him. He cried quietly and told his children that they had wiped his shame. Bamidele left Umudara without noise. No dancing. No prideful speech. He touched the wall of the mud house gently and walked away. The villagers watched him go with respect and regret. Some wished they could rewrite their words, but time does not rewind. Now to Sola. Sola's Lagos dream did not turn into permanent happiness. She enjoyed comfort for a while, but comfort built on another person's pocket is always fragile. The rich man she followed was not legally free. When his real wife returned from abroad, everything changed. She exposed Sola's position, pushed her out, and humiliated her publicly. And suddenly, Sola was nothing again. With no house, no respect, and no protection, she remembered Umudara. She remembered her children. She remembered Bamidele. She decided to return and beg for forgiveness. When she arrived at the old compound, she opened the door with hope. There was nobody. Only dust, cobwebs, silence. The house felt like a grave of memories. She ran outside and asked neighbors in panic. An elderly villager looked at her with pity and told her that the people she left were no longer there. He told her that her husband raised the children alone, that they became successful, that they were now abroad, and that her husband lived on Lagos Island. Sola felt the ground leave her feet. She sank and cried in front of the same villagers who once praised her. And for the first time she understood what she truly lost. Not money. Not comfort. She lost a family that became a destiny, without her. Lagos was loud, but Sola's regret was louder. After crying in Umudara until her body felt empty, she rushed back to Lagos with one mission: to find Bamidele and her children. She carried nothing but a small bag and a heart full of shame. The city that once welcomed her with hope now felt like punishment. She moved from street to street, asking questions, begging relatives, calling old contacts. Many shut their doors. Some laughed. Some insulted her. A few pitied her but could not help. Sola finally found the address through someone who knew someone. When she arrived at the Lagos Island apartment, she stood outside the gate like a stranger in front of a life she once abandoned. Fear, excitement, and shame mixed inside her chest. She rehearsed apologies in her head. She told herself he would understand. She told herself she was desperate. She told herself she was still their mother. When the gate opened and Bamidele stepped out, Sola almost did not recognize him. He looked healthier, cleaner, not rich but comfortable. His face carried peace, the peace of a man whose sacrifices had finally spoken. He was dressed simply, yet everything about him reflected dignity. Sola's knees weakened. She called his name with a broken voice. Bamidele stopped. He looked at her quietly, like someone staring at a chapter of life he had already closed. He did not rush to her. He did not shout. His silence punished her more than any words could. She told him she had returned. She said she made mistakes. She said she suffered too. She begged him to help her speak to the children. Bamidele raised his hand gently, not in anger but in control. He told her the children were not there. He said they were abroad. Hope rushed into her eyes. She begged to speak to them. She begged him to help her explain. Bamidele's voice became firm. He reminded her that for years, the children begged for her in their hearts and she did not come. For years, they cried silently and she did not call. He told her he buried their pain with his own hands. Then he asked her why she wanted to open wounds now that her Lagos dream had failed. Sola cried and said she was hungry, tired, and wanted better. Bamidele nodded slowly. He told her they were all hungry and tired, but he stayed. People passed by. The gatekeeper pretended not to hear. Her shame became public again. She begged until her voice cracked. Finally Bamidele sighed. His eyes softened slightly, not from trust, but from memory, because she was still the mother of his children. He told her he would inform the children that she came. But whether they would answer her was not in his hands. He then told her that forgiveness is not forced. It is given. And some wounds heal, but they never forget. That night, Bamidele called his children abroad and told them their mother had returned. Silence filled the call. Then Kemi asked why she came. Tund asked why now. Bamidele told them he did not know. He only promised to tell them. Days later, Sola waited outside the gate again, hoping for a miracle. She imagined the children running to her. She imagined becoming part of their lives again. But reality was painful. The children sent their message through their father. It was respectful, calm, and firm. They wished her well. But they were not ready. Maybe one day. Not now. Sola read the message and cried like a woman who finally understood the price of her choice. She watched from a distance as Bamidele's life continued. Peaceful, respected, complete. And she realized something that broke her spirit. The family she abandoned did not collapse. Rose. Without her. And the greatest punishment was not poverty. It was being alive to watch the life she could have had, from outside the gate. Moral lesson. When comfort is chosen over commitment, regret becomes the only reward. True wealth is not found in money, but in the family you stand by when life is hard.